Ethan came back when I was eating a pot of stew. I knew he'd already eaten, so I didn't pay him any attention and kept eating with my head down. He washed his hands and came to sit on the couch for a while. We both remained silent. I fished out my favorite piece of beef from the pot, rolled it in the sauce, and popped it into my mouth. If an outsider saw this scene, they'd surely find it bizarre. Who wears an elegant evening gown with hair pinned up in a chignon just to eat dinner at home? And yet here we were, seated on plush carpet with our meal spread across a wide coffee table. This was the penthouse in the city's prime location, purchased the year Ethan and I married. Since then, I've lived here most of the time, only occasionally visiting the family estate with him. I ate for what felt like eternity, and he sat beside me equally long, yet neither of us spoke a single word. At last, I had my fill and stood up, gathering the trash into a garbage bag to be cleared by the housekeeper tomorrow. Entering the bathroom, I removed the black silk ribbon from my arm. At a glance, it was barely noticeable against the black sleeves of my dress. Folding the smooth black ribbon neatly, I studied my reflection in the mirror before stepping out. Having just eaten, a bath didn't seem fitting. Better to watch some TV first and return later. Just as I reached to push open the bedroom door, he finally spoke. "Klaus." I turned my head. He stood up, came over, and pulled me into his embrace. "If you want to cry, just let it out, okay? I'm back." I looked up at him calmly. "I haven't shed a tear in years. Neither now nor in the future will I cry. You go take a shower first." Holding me, "You've got my perfume on your clothes now." He opened his mouth to speak again, but I cut him off. The conversation ended abruptly, and the scent of lilac perfume he brought back with him faded from my nostrils. The sound of running water echoed from the bathroom as I pushed open the bedroom door. Standing before the floor-to-ceiling window in the bedroom, I did the math. This was the 66th floor. If I jumped, I'd surely be shattered beyond recognition. Which would hurt more, chemotherapy or the fall? My phone kept vibrating incessantly. I scrolled past all the comforting messages and fixed my gaze on a string of voice notes. My hands began to tremble. I couldn't wait to click it open. "Sis, happy birthday, you must remember to eat cake. Let me tell you a secret. I've already recorded 100 happy birthdays, so sis, you must live to be 100. That way, you'll hear my birthday wishes every year." I clutched my chest, leaning against the glass as I bent over. I don't have a little brother anymore. On the eve of my birthday, after battling bone cancer for a year, it finally took him from me. The bedroom door kept knocking, but I ignored it. He called me by my childhood nickname, just as he did when we were both children. "Chloe, I've drawn a hot bath for you. Open the door. Let me carry you to soak. Would you like that?" "Chloe, open the door." I leaned against the glass window, stiffly gazing at the bustling city center. I even wanted to tell him, just go. Go anywhere at all. Don't come back. After 4 years of solitude, I've grown accustomed to this emptiness. 4 years ago, he didn't show up at my mother's funeral either. Now, at my younger brother's funeral, he's absent again. At this point, he really shouldn't bother returning. I never expected him to anyway. He probably already knows I don't have much time left. Suddenly staying at home, they're being extra attentive to me. Maybe they've guessed. After all, both my mother and younger brother left because of the same illness, bone cancer. It's always been an illness with extremely high familial inheritance. Holding the cat on the sofa, I watch TV while he makes breakfast. "I made your favorite sandwich. Have some." I put down the cat and sat at the dining table. Picking up a spoon, I scooped some oatmeal. "Can we go to the old house this afternoon?" "Sure." I took another spoonful. After finishing breakfast, I changed clothes again and went with him to the old house. 2. Is it already autumn? The leaves by the roadside are starting to turn yellow. A scarf wraps around me. Be careful not to catch a cold. Arriving at the old house, Grandma kept looking at me with worry in her eyes, no longer as cheerful as before, sighing from time to time. I stayed by her side, but occasionally glanced at the TV and let out soft giggles. "Grandma, this show is really good." "It is good. Grandma thinks so too." Before dinner, I went for a stroll in the garden. I only came back when it was almost time to eat. "Cut it out right now. Can't you see Chloe is acting very strange? She just lost her only family member. You can imagine how devastating this must be for her. I really don't see what's so great about that woman that you defend her like this and anger Chloe. You didn't even come back for Chris's funeral. You're really driving her insane." I booked the fastest flight, but I still didn't make it in time. It was Ethan's voice. The hospital had already issued a critical condition notice long ago. "You shouldn't have gone abroad at a time like this, especially bringing that woman along. It's not just Chloe. Any wife would go mad under these circumstances. She flew away on her own. Enough said. It won't change the outcome. In her final days, be good to her, make amends." I stepped back, took another walk outside, and then finally returned. When I returned, Ethan was already standing at the gate waiting for me. He wore a coat, his eyes holding a rare concern for me. "Where have you been? I couldn't find you in the garden." "I ran into a stray dog and took it to the animal shelter." "Your hands are freezing red." He came over and took my hand. I froze, maybe because my hands were too cold. Being grasped by warm ones made me reflexively flinch. He held my hand tighter, as if trying to grasp onto something. Seeing Grandma standing at the inner gate waiting for us, I forced a smile and followed him back into the house. 3. After having lunch at the old house, we said goodbye to Grandma. I'd already quit my job. The remaining days were spent cooking, eating, drinking, and sleeping at home like a useless person. Whenever there was a good TV show, I'd hold my phone and watch it all night long. Even when Ethan scolded me, I wouldn't listen. It was mainly because his tone was too gentle, unlike our past arguments where we would always challenge each other sharply. That night, I stayed up all night staring at my phone. When he woke up the next morning and saw I was still glued to it, he took the phone from me. "Stop playing with it and give your eyes some rest," he said. But he was mistaken this time. I was discussing something important. I was negotiating with a cemetery salesperson about purchasing a burial plot. He glanced at the phone screen and instantly froze. I reached out my hand. "We're almost done talking. Give it to me." He suddenly resembled a trapped wild beast, the veins on his fists bulging. Without a word, he took my phone and walked out. I stepped outside, picked up the cat waiting by the door, and looked toward the balcony where he stood holding the door. He was chain-smoking, nearly engulfed in a cloud of smoke. For from then on, he treated me exceptionally well, always indulging my every whim. I fell asleep watching the sunset by the floor-to-ceiling window, and he would gently carry me back to bed. When I curled up in the living room watching TV, he would sit beside me and watch with me. He even made different international cuisines every day, ensuring each meal was a new experience. He looked so domestic in his casual wear while cooking. Sometimes I find myself staring absent-mindedly. Oh, and he thoughtfully put away the household calendar too, not letting me see its pages growing thinner each day. Scanning through short videos today, I encountered countless flower delivery clips before realizing, it's Valentine's Day. The bedroom door creaks open softly as I swipe the video away. He has something to say. "What's wrong? I need to go out for something." I froze for a moment before casually responding, "Okay." Whether he went out or not was something he didn't need to tell me. After he left, I also changed into a sweater and decided to go for a walk. The afternoon sunlight spilled carelessly across the street. The cat food at home was almost gone, so I bought 2 big bags of it, along with some potato chips I like. My hands were already full, but I still planned to stop by my favorite cafe for a hot cup of coffee. At the traffic light intersection, I gazed at the cafe across the street, knowing I wouldn't be able to have that coffee after all. By the floor-to-ceiling window, Ethan looked out in shock, and I didn't manage to leave quickly enough. The warmth of their holiday moment was, in the end, shattered by me. I quickly turned and walked away against the flow of the crowd. I don't understand it either. Today when I saw Jessica, she was wearing that red dress, still looking as radiant as ever. But my once overwhelming hatred for her has completely dissipated. I still remember the first time I learned of her existence. In a rage, I stormed into the beachfront villa, tearing at her until our hair was disheveled and our faces scratched. Looking back now, how childish that was. Carrying my things, I hailed a cab home, fed the cat, and rubbed its round little belly with a sigh. Just like me, once full, it just wants to sleep. After placing it back on the cat tree, I started packing my clothes. I decided it was time to leave. I've had this thought before, not for any particular reason, but because I must look so wretched and unseemly in my final days. I wanted to find a place without people, to leave silently there. Packing a large suitcase, I carried it to the door and turned for one last look at the place I had arranged with my own hands. The sleeping cat woke up, staring at me with innocent confusion. In the taxi, I held the cat in my arms, both of us tilting our heads to gaze at the sky outside the window. 6 months later, I settled down in a remote small town, living a peaceful life here where the sunlight is mild and the water is clear. It's truly a perfect place to spend one's twilight years, with a cat and a dog, well-fed and content, plus a rocking chair. Never has my heart felt so serene. Outside the garden in the yard, an auntie leaned over the gate shouting, "Mississippi." Someone sent me to ask, "Do you have a boyfriend?" At this point, she touched the back of her head again. "Mrs. Gable asked me to check with you. Her son works at City Hall. He came back during the holidays and saw you, said something about you. Let me think. Oh yes, that you have great presence." I was stunned, and the cat tilted its head to look up at me. "Sorry, I've been married." The aunt grew even more curious. "You've been married, meaning you were married before but divorced?" I offered a polite smile but didn't answer further. She slapped her thigh and walked away. "Ah, what a pity." Looking down, I noticed the cat still gazing up at me. I crouched to pick it up. "Want to go play by the river again?" Just as I stood up, a sharp pain shot through my ankle. I set the cat down and hurried back to the bedroom, pulling open a drawer and pouring out a handful of pills. At the door, the cat bumped against it and meowed loudly. I lay on the bed, curled around my ankle, teeth clenched tight. Why hasn't the medicine worked this time? It must be getting worse. The sheets were clutched tightly in my hands, then released, pressing against my ankles. In the end, I couldn't hold back anymore. The pain in my knee joints flared up, even spreading to my waist. Curled up in bed, I truly felt the agony of being worse off than dead. I don't know how many hours passed before I opened my weary eyes. The high sun was setting in the west, casting its afterglow across the land. I climbed down from my bed and leaned by the window, watching the sun sink below the horizon. There was no movement at the door, and the cat was nowhere to be seen. Not until I heard a noise downstairs and looked down did I spot the cat and Ethan below. I froze. Why was he here? Watching the cat persistently tug at him, signaling him to come inside, I pressed my parched lips together by the window. Compared to his freshness, the word disheveled couldn't even begin to describe me. The moment he looked up, I quickly turned my head away. 6. Yet I still heard footsteps coming up the stairs. The footsteps stopped at the door. Crow. I know it's you. Open the door, please. Are you hurting? Let me take you to the hospital. I pressed my lips tightly together, silent. The door was deadbolt behind me. Chloe. He kept calling my name outside the door with endless patience since I wouldn't open it. I twitched my lips and shut my eyes briefly. My body felt sticky, my throat parched and thick. The night grew darker. I crawled back to bed, curling into myself as I fell asleep. So cold. 7. Work-related issues. Ask the vice president. I won't be back for a while. I had many bizarre dreams. At first, my mind felt impossibly heavy, trapped and immobile, then grew lighter as the fire that had been scorching me dwindled. I opened my eyes to a brightly lit room, glancing sideways at the person speaking by the window. That's all. Hang up. He set down the phone and turned around. After locking eyes, my gaze shifted to the door. There were obvious pry marks, and by the bedside table sat a cup and fever-reducing medicine. You're awake. He approached, offering me a faint smile. I sat up, staring at the darkness outside the window, forcing my voice to remain steady as I spoke. Leave. Don't show yourself again. I searched everywhere to find this place. Even if I hadn't found you today, I would have kept looking until I did. I turned back to meet his gaze, my frigid eyes confronting the unwavering determination in his. Perhaps it was the icy coldness in my gaze that made him too afraid to meet my eyes. When he brought up the porridge he had cooked, he said, "You're too weak right now. This will be better for you." He carefully held the bowl, scooping a spoonful and bringing it to my lips. It made me sick. Rage stirred within me. The porridge bowl crashed to the floor. Get out. Go as far away as you can. I never thought I'd one day hate him this much. He always seemed to know exactly how to hurt me the most. I looked up at him, my fury turning into an invisible blade in my chest. Ethan, does seeing me alive for even one more day make you uncomfortable? Do you wish I'd just drop dead right now? He didn't say a word. In the end, he just silently cleaned up the mess on the floor. After tidying up, he went out. The house remained utterly silent. Only when he didn't return did all tension leave my body. He was gone. For 8 days that followed, I shut myself indoors like moldering produce. The ever-present pain had long since drained my energy. I couldn't even muster the strength to go downstairs. My stomach couldn't register hunger anymore. If I went outside looking like this, I'd only frighten people. The cat ran to the door. I had just thrown on a sweater and was staggering out. The bag of cat food I'd opened was already empty. It must be hungry now. I opened a new bag and poured it into its bowl. As it lowered its head to eat, I stroked its back and sighed. What will happen to it when I'm gone? There was movement downstairs. Both the cat and I became alert, staring toward the staircase. Someone had entered and was coming up the steps, one by one. Though the local customs here were simple and honest, not everyone was good-natured. I stood up and grabbed the fruit knife from the coffee table, clutching it in my hand. The footsteps grew increasingly distinct. Only after clearly seeing the approaching figure did the cat lower its head to eat with relief. It was Ethan. He hadn't left yet. Frozen for a moment, his hand clutching the bag tightened instinctively. He apologized to us. "Sorry for startling you. I thought you were still asleep." I looked at the bag in his hand. "You haven't eaten for 2 days. Please have something first." He placed the items on the coffee table, unpacking everything: food, lunchboxes, fruits, water. I watched him coldly. Only then did I realize what had felt wrong since I came out. The fruit on the coffee table was still fresh, as if it had been replaced. So he had been coming into my room all along. Crow, I can't leave. If you don't like me staying here with you, I've rented the place next door. If anything happens, I can come over immediately. He tried to take a step closer to me, my hand clenched tightly, nails digging into my palm. Give me the key. Our eyes met, and between our gazes lay an insurmountable chasm. Otherwise, I'll call the police. The key I had placed on the coffee table was no longer in its original spot. He lowered his head. I'll leave first. I'll bring dinner over later. In the end, he didn't dare come closer and quickly left. After he was gone, I went downstairs and threw everything he'd brought into the trash bin by the door. Then I grabbed a wooden stick to barricade the gate. Only after doing all this did I notice someone on the neighboring balcony who had been watching the whole time. I turned my head and looked over. It was him. Perfect. Just perfect. He knew he shouldn't have come. This time, it'd be best to give up. We glanced at each other before I entered the house and blocked the inner room. That night, my phone rang with his call, but I had no intention of answering. I blocked the number. Alone in the kitchen, I simply cooked some noodles. There wasn't a single seasoning left in the house, but now I don't need to eat anything flavored anyway. At night, the starry sky was breathtaking. Even the cat gazed curiously at the nocturnal expanse. I stepped outside to gather the laundry. As I went back in, from the adjacent, unlit balcony, a hoarse voice reached me. "Crow, if I jump over from here and survive, don't close the door on me, alright?" I tilted my head to glance at the opposite balcony. The lights were off on this side, making it impossible to see clearly. Only the silhouette of a figure remained visible, though the hoarse, muffled voice betrayed he wasn't in a good state either. I paid it no mind. Between our apartments stretched a 12-foot gap. If some unrelated stranger chose to leap to their death, I had no right to stop them. I stepped inside and began changing the bedsheets. Just then, the sound of something falling came from the balcony. My cat, perched on the railing, suddenly meowed and leaned over to peer downward. My gaze shifted toward the balcony. A minute later, when someone climbed over the balcony railing and landed inside, I narrowed my eyes. He didn't fall after all. It seems God must have closed his eyes at that very moment. I pressed against my kneecap that had begun to ache faintly, and the kitten stopped its cries. He came in clutching a bloodied fist. "Crow, I made the jump. Please don't shut the door anymore, alright? Believe me, I won't disturb you too much every day." I watched as the blood dripped from his fist onto the floor. He grabbed a tissue from beside him and bent down to wipe it away. A minute later, I spoke up. "Fine, come tomorrow. There's still one thing left unfinished between us." The flicker of joy in his eyes dimmed almost immediately. He guessed what I meant. "I'll wash my hands and change your sheets before I go, okay?" My legs trembled slightly as I snapped. "I don't like others touching my things. Get out." He seemed startled by me, but still listened and turned away. As soon as he left the bedroom, I slammed the door shut with a bang, turned off the light, and slid down to the floor against the door. 10. Bone cancer pain mostly strikes at night, tormenting the marrow, initially intermittent, then frequent, until every cell within the bones aches with agony. I tried desperately to endure, yet still emitted uncontrollable sobs. The person at the door hadn't left yet. I didn't hear footsteps walking away. I wanted to crawl further from the door, at least so the sound wouldn't carry outside. I didn't want to appear pathetic before anyone. If absolutely necessary, it could be anyone, but never him. When he burst in and flipped the light switch, I was sweating through tears, curled in the corner by the bed frame with my whole body convulsing, painkillers scattered across the floor. His eyes were red as he strode forward. "Crow, I'll carry you to the hospital." I knocked the cup to the floor. "Get out. Don't come near me. Go, just go." I tried to grab a pillow to throw, but had no strength left. He came over and held me tightly, enduring all my scratching and hitting. He held me tighter and tighter in his arms, as I convulsed. "I don't want to go to the hospital. Just a little while longer and I'll be fine." I saw his tears fall onto my face, mingling with mine. His body trembled violently as he clung to me. He must have pitied me. After all, we went from campus to marriage, only to end without reason. The next morning, I washed up early and waited for him. While getting dressed, I realized most of my clothes had become too big. Finally, I chose a silk bodycon dress that had been ordered a size too small. Today it fit perfectly. In the jewelry box, there was also an antique silver hair comb. I gathered my hair up and pinned it with this comb. I applied makeup next. These cosmetics hadn't been touched in so long. If I didn't use them now, there might never be another chance. When Ethan appeared, he froze. Accustomed to seeing me with loose hair and casually thrown on sweaters, today's look must have offered at least some novelty. I placed the flash drive in my bag. "Since there's no printer at home, let's go to town to print it. Oh, and call your lawyer too." I took a few steps, but he lingered behind, not following. I had no choice but to turn back. "I don't agree to divorce. I won't go," he said, his voice trembling as I turned around. Gazing at the distant green mountains, I simply replied, "I don't want to go through legal procedures and risk Grandma finding out. If I hadn't come, you wouldn't have divorced me, right?" I even saw him develop a sense of disgust towards himself. This feeling is genuinely good. I, too, have deeply despised myself, so it turns out he can despise himself as well. He said, "Because there's still Grandma. You wouldn't want to upset the old lady." I don't want to upset the old lady, nor do I want to die with regrets. So let's compromise. We'll divorce, just don't tell Grandma. Ethan owed me, but Grandma never owed me a speck. He still didn't move. "You don't want me having another episode out here, do you? Gathering a crowd?" He unclenched his fist and finally went to pull the car around. Ben never wanted to touch anything related to him again, but if it meant cutting off a long rotten relationship once and for all, then so be it. 12. The weather stayed clear all the way as we reached the printing shop in town. I handed him one copy of the printed agreement. Only after receiving curious glances from people around us did he silently accept it. His hand trembled slightly. Perhaps I truly didn't understand him. The first divorce was initiated by him, but I clung tightly to the Hayes family's assets, refusing to sign. This time, he should be pleased. Each party retains their premarital assets. Your family's trust fund remains yours. My dowry remains mine. Income generated individually during marriage stays separate. We owe each other nothing from now on. Except perhaps this. We owe everything to that fateful meeting in our youth. He looked up. Back then, you said you'd take everything and leave me nothing, so all properties I acquired would rightfully be yours. As the offending party, I should walk away with nothing. What am I supposed to do with these now? Besides, spending money you've earned makes me sick. He never understood why I demanded all the assets back then. I just couldn't bring myself to let him have his way. If only time could rewind, and we'd never crossed paths. I finished speaking and lowered my head, quickly signing the papers on the table before handing them over to the lawyer. Good work. He hadn't signed yet, but I wasn't in a hurry either. Finding a sunny spot, I sat down and waited for him. That wait lasted the entire afternoon. With just half an hour left before City Hall closed, I had no choice but to look his way. Finally, he picked up the pen and signed his name. We were the last couple to complete divorce registration that day. With a decisive thud of the official stamp, we walked away clean, two strangers with no ties left between us. 13. I stepped out to hail a taxi. Across from the town hall stood the largest hospital in town. In the cancer ward, the relentless moans of patients hooked to pain relief pumps echoed in my ears. The taxi arrived. Someone rushed out from behind and grasped my hand. Let's go to the hospital, okay? You will definitely recover. I looked up at him and said, if the treatment was successful, my brother wouldn't have died. Then, I laughed at him again until tears nearly streamed down my face. The most important thing is, I've lost all my relatives. Do you know what it feels like to lose every single one? You still have me, he said, reaching out to embrace me. I pulled my hand away and stepped back, raising the divorce papers in my grip. The sting in my eyes faded, leaving only numbness. We no longer have any connection, never again. I'm getting in the car, let's go back together. Who gets divorced and still rides in their ex-husband's car? There's no need for that anymore. He had no choice but to let go. 14. On the way back, passing through a night market section, many people were holding sky lanterns in their hands. Where is this place? This is a night market. It seems to be some kind of lantern festival today. So many people are releasing sky lanterns. I'll get off here. Sky lanterns of various colors rose into the air, like a grand celebration. I paid the fare and got out of the taxi. As I turned to leave, I noticed a black car following behind. After one glance at the license plate, I chose to ignore it. Who can tell me why someone who used to refuse to come home now sticks around like an annoying piece of chewing gum after the divorce? Would you like to buy a sky lantern? Very cheap, $10 each. I picked one, light the candle inside, and it's ready to release, right? Yes, just light it and release it by the river. Oh, and miss, here's a pen for you to write with. Write what? Write your wishes. This gentleman keeps looking at you. Are you two a couple? You can write blessings for eternal love. When the sky lantern rises with your wishes, they'll come true. She confidently pointed at Ethan in his overcoat and said, no need, I have no connection with him. I shook my head and, while the shopkeeper was still stunned, took the lantern and left. At the bustling riverside, I borrowed a lighter from someone nearby, lit the lantern, raised it high, and let go. The sky lantern slipped from my hand, rising higher and higher until it merged with the colorful array of lights and disappeared from sight. Amidst the clamor, I walked toward him. Can you please stop following me? Ethan, don't be so selfish. Are you afraid guilt will haunt you for life, trying to atone like this? But you know I'll never forgive you, not even in death. So, just disappear. Let my eyes have some peace for once, will you? You know how much I despise you. As the crowd roared around us, I helplessly let the tears fall. Under the gaze of countless uncomprehending eyes, his eyes reddened before he finally turned and drove away. Not long after, 2 text messages from an unknown number appeared on my phone. I'm sorry, I won't come again. Stay well, I beg you, please stay well. 15. A month later, I emerged from the lifeless room, with my cat circling incessantly at my feet. I poured food for it, and it ate absent-mindedly while I stroked its back. Once you're full, let's go out and play, okay? It looked at me with its big, round eyes, as if trying to confirm whether I meant it. I picked it up, hugged it a little tighter with reluctance, then set it down and went to gather its toys. Every time I took it out before, it was always so happy, but this time it was glued to the house, unwilling to leave. I had no choice but to pick it up, holding its carrier as we headed down the mountain. The girl waiting at the foot of the mountain saw me and waved with a smile. Hello, Hello, sorry I'm late. I just got here too. Wow, it's so chubby, so cute. She reached out to take the cat from my arms, but it turned its head away, unwilling to be held by a stranger. Be good, go to your sister. She'll take care of you from now on. But it didn't even raise its head. The girl looked somewhat awkward as well, scratching her head. It can't bear to leave you. It's a bit shy around strangers, but don't worry, it's very well behaved. Come here, let big sister hold you. Look what I brought. The little girl had also come prepared, taking out some dried fish. It finally lifted its head, and I took the chance to hand it over to her. It glanced at me before burying its head in the biscuits. The little girl looked puzzled. If you're reluctant to part with it too, why give it to me? I'm not able to take care of it anymore. I'm counting on you. Don't worry, I'll take good care of it. You take care of your health. I set down its belongings, nodded, and left. Behind me, the mewing of the cat made me quicken my steps without resisting. Ah, it's chasing after me. I turned around, and sure enough, it was already sprinting toward my feet. I held back, crouched down, and stroked its head. Be good. In the end, when I left, it sat without following me. As I walked away, tears began to fall despite my efforts to stop them. 16. On a particularly beautiful day, I picked many wildflowers outside, several colors gathered into a bouquet. Such lovely blossoms. Before entering the house, I glanced back once more at this magnificent landscape of rivers and mountains. Finally, the door closed. Before the next wave of pain arrived, I grabbed the knife and stepped into the warm bathtub. Extra, Ethan's perspective on October 9th. I was in the middle of a meeting when my chest suddenly hurt unbearably. My laptop snapped shut as I clutched my chest and doubled over in pain. Mr. Hayes. I looked around, feeling my vision grow increasingly hollow. Give me my phone. My secretary immediately handed it over, and in a panic, I called Chloe. I couldn't get through on the phone. Prepare the car, hurry. I dashed all the way to the small town, where the weather remained mild and pleasant, everything proceeding as usual, but my heart was beating uncontrollably. The car stopped in front of the door, her house tightly shut, windows all sealed. My hands were already trembling. I kicked the door open and rushed in. Chloe. No one was on the first floor, and as I ascended to the second floor, each step brought a stronger scent of blood. At that moment, I wished more than anything that I had no sense of smell. I rushed upstairs, and what met my eyes was the floor leading to the bathroom, a glaring, vivid red. I immediately kicked open the bathroom door. I had never seen a bathroom so red. Chloe. I dashed in and lifted her out of the water. The bathtub had long gone cold. My heart began to tremble too. Chloe, wake up. I carried her out. She felt alarmingly light, as if all my strength had been drained from me. There was movement downstairs, and many people had arrived. After asking a few questions, I understood they were from the funeral services. So, she had arranged everything in advance. I refused to believe she was truly dead. Ignoring their attempts to stop me, I held her cold body and rushed to the hospital. Doctor, please save her quickly. The doctor immediately touched her body, his expression changing as he turned to glare coldly at me. Be reasonable. Her body is already stiff. She's been dead for at least 3 hours. You can still bring her back. I know you can. If you keep causing trouble, we'll have security drag you out. The doctor pried my hand away and rushed to the emergency room. Under everyone's strange gazes, I hugged the sleeping Chloe. Both of us stained the same shade of red, like monsters. People kept their distance, whispering and pointing, but all I wanted was for Chloe to wake up. 2. Chloe was buried in the cemetery plot she had bought earlier, not far from Chris's and her mother's graves. After the funeral, I scattered many flower seeds around her gravestone. She always loved sunshine and flowers. She had arranged everything. Before passing, she donated all her remaining assets to the hospital as a research fund against bone cancer, hoping the world would one day be free of it. I opened her phone and found the girl who had adopted the cat. This feline had been closest to Chloe and most represented her. I tracked down the girl, introduced myself, and expressed my wish to bring the cat back at any cost. At first, the girl was unwilling. She loved the cat dearly too. Seeing this cat, it walked towards me on its own after noticing me, and in the end, she agreed. I placed the cat in the passenger seat and took it home with me. When I got home, it was excited at first, but soon it kept pacing through every room and then started crying urgently again. I know it's looking for Chloe. Unable to find her, it grew anxious. My chest ached sharply again. 3 months after Chloe's death, I started experiencing frequent angina. When Grandma noticed, she urged me to get checked at the hospital, but the doctor found nothing wrong. The elderly woman looked at me, still uneasy. She sighed, seeing right through everything, and patted my shoulder. Live well. Chloe wouldn't want to see you like this. Don't think about disturbing her. In the tranquil courtyard, I spoke up. Lately, I keep dreaming of her. I chuckled self-deprecatingly. I dreamt she turned into a deer with long antlers, happily running through the forest. But every time she saw me, she'd vanish without a trace, and no matter how hard I searched, I couldn't find her. My body shuddered uncontrollably. Grandma, I wronged her. Even dying wouldn't atone for my sins. How could I commit a crime worse than murder, something that can never be redeemed? Grandma tightened her grip on the rosary beads in her hand and shook her head. If only you had come to your senses sooner. If only you hadn't hurt her so badly. 4. At the traffic light intersection, someone tapped twice on my car window. Did you sell the house by the bay? I gave her a cold stare and remained silent. Jessica joined my company as an intern. I finished processing the documents and left work in the evening. She appeared in my private elevator. She stuck out her tongue and explained, "Sorry, Mr. Hayes, the other elevator seems to be broken." She was wearing carefully applied perfume. Then we went downstairs. I pulled the car out of the garage, and she stopped me again. "Mr. Hayes, could you give me a ride? It's too late. I can't get a taxi." Later, when I worked overtime, I ran into her several times. On the bus, she would cautiously strike up conversations with me, always asking what seemed then like naive questions. Memories flashed by, and she questioned me. "Where am I supposed to live if you sell it?" I smiled. I remember it very clearly. That time Chloe ran into us outside the cafe. We agreed then, "Never contact me again, or you'll face the consequences yourself." She wept, her eyes instantly turning red. Once again, she resorted to her usual tricks. "Are you really going to be this cruel? Don't you remember nearly divorcing Chloe for me? I've wasted 4 years of my youth waiting, only to end up with nothing?" I sneered coldly once more. "If the car accident 4 years ago was truly because Chloe provoked you and led to the crash, I wouldn't have gone this far." She immediately felt justified. It was her who provoked me. She called to threaten me, and that's why I crashed into the truck. Do you know how terrible that accident was for me? You saw it. I was in a coma for a week. Do you have any idea how much that left me with long-term effects? I just kept watching her like that, until she grew nervous under my gaze. I picked up where she left off. How could I not know? The aftermath is that your head aches when it rains, and you faint when you get worked up. You've told me these things no less than 100 times. Isn't your goal just to make me understand how wicked Chloe is and how innocent you are? Isn't that right? You knew all along, yet you still treated me this way, still insisted on driving me away. Why? She accused me, her voice trembling. All these years, you never mentioned that it was you who first sent that photo to provoke her. And then she called you. During that call, you kept pushing her buttons, didn't you? You practically drove her mad just to speed up our divorce. Yet right after getting your license, you crashed your own car. She looked at me in disbelief. You investigated me? I only heard from the housekeeper who cleans at the Bay Villa that you show 2 completely different faces, one when you're with her in private, and another when you're with me. She mentioned how fierce and calculated you are behind closed doors, which made me start doubting everything you'd ever told me. After cross-referencing with what Chloe said and carefully investigating your car accident, you've truly given me quite the surprise. She began to feel guilty. So, you started distancing yourself from me, stopped taking me abroad with you, and I had to fly to find you on my own. No, you didn't just investigate this recently, you'd figured it out long ago. That's why you made me move out early on and told me not to contact you anymore. Yes, I've already investigated thoroughly, yet you kept reaching out to me with your pitiable acting, trying to win my sympathy, even threatening me to meet on Valentine's Day. I had no choice but to come out and give you a warning. You have no idea. If I'd known Chloe would walk in that day, would misunderstand and leave, I would have made you pay dearly. You were clever though, running off abroad. Back now that the money's run out, aren't you? Her sobs intensified. Ethan, I was wrong. Don't be like this. Give me one more chance. Let me stay with you. I heard, Chloe's finally dead. Let me be with you from now on. I suddenly clamped my hand around her throat. Shut up. Get lost if you don't want trouble. I shoved her away, and she fell to the ground before scrambling back up. But you know too, the photo I sent her was of the new car you bought me. You blame me, but aren't you the one who started all this? That's right. It was me. That's why I hate myself the most. I rolled up my sleeves, revealing the knife scars on my arm. If you'd like to taste the depth of this hatred, I wouldn't mind letting you experience it too. You're insane. She didn't dare linger any longer and ran out. After running a short distance, she suddenly tripped and fell. I didn't go over to help. After lying there for a while, she got up on her own. She had told many lies, but this one, about being left with after effects from the car accident, appeared to be true. 3 months later, I received a call from the hospital. Excuse me, is this Mr. Hayes? Yes, speaking. Who is this? We're from Trinity Hospital. Do you know Jessica Jones? She suffered a cerebral hemorrhage after falling down the stairs and was brought to our hospital for emergency treatment. Please come to the hospital immediately. I don't know this person. Are you absolutely sure? Your number was saved in her phone. Her condition is quite serious. According to our specialist's assessment, she had previously been in a car accident that injured her brain. Even if she survives this time, there will be permanent damage, cognitive impairment, intellectual disability. She'll need someone to take care of her for the rest of her life. I merely closed my eyes for a moment before hanging up the phone. That incident with Jessica's car accident marked the irreversible beginning of the end between Chloe and me. I've always resented Chloe for going too far, provoking Jessica into that crash. The car was totaled, and she nearly lost her life. 3 years after the car accident, I finally learned that it was Jessica who had instigated the incident. It was all her own doing. She lifted the stone only to drop it on her own foot. After the car accident, Chloe and I reached an impasse in our relationship. That same year, when her mother passed away from cancer, I sent Jessica to the top neurology hospital in another state for treatment. She missed her mother Chloe's funeral outright. Since then, whenever she saw me, she rarely spoke voluntarily. I brought up divorce. She countered by demanding the company in exchange. Naturally, I refused to give her the company, so the divorce couldn't proceed. I knew by then she no longer loved me at all. She was simply drowning in darkness and wanted to drag everyone down with her. However, 3 years later, when I investigated the car accident, I finally understood she was telling the truth. Jessica's crash was entirely her own doing. Her only mistake was believing our mutual affection could last a lifetime and offering me her most genuine heart, only for me to crush it mercilessly. The tragedy is, though I saw Jessica clearly for who she was, I still lacked the courage to tell Chloe I was wrong, to beg for her forgiveness. I even missed her younger brother's funeral, again. I really didn't mean to miss my brother's funeral. During those days, someone from the overseas branch was planning to strike out on their own, taking a group of key employees with them. I had to go there to stabilize the situation. Just as I arrived at the overseas branch, Chris was gone. I told my secretary to book a flight immediately. I needed to return home right away. Just when an armed conflict suddenly broke out there, all flights were suspended. I was as frantic as an ant on a hot griddle. 2 days later, when flights finally resumed, I hurriedly boarded a plane back home, the same day as Chris's funeral. By the way, back then I had flown to the overseas branch office, and Jessica followed right after. 3 months prior to this, I had already started giving her the cold shoulder. She tried to win me back. I returned, and she booked a flight to follow me back. Just before disembarking, she finally changed her clinging attitude. She asked to give me one last hug, promising she wouldn't pester me anymore. I took her at her word. That single embrace left me covered in her perfume, and I was too concerned about Chloe, who had just lost her brother. On the way home, I didn't even notice the scent on me as I hurried back. By the time I got off the plane, it was already dark, and Chris's funeral must have long been over. When I reached the front door, light from inside seeped out through the cracks. I didn't even dare to open the door or go inside. She barely lifted her head, absorbed entirely in her own world. Chloe must have been utterly disappointed in me. No, not even disappointment. She treated me as just an ordinary friend. No matter what I did, she had no objections. We could even have conversations. Only when I asked would she answer. But she never took the initiative to ask me. Yet most of the time, I felt too guilty to even dare ask her anything. So most of the time, we maintained a kind of silence. You go take a shower first. Holding me, you've got my perfume on your clothes now. Her single sentence pushed me straight into hell. Today was her brother's funeral. How could she possibly have the presence of mind to wear perfume? It was from another woman, clinging to me. I always knew exactly how to twist the knife when she was already numb with pain. Yet she said these words with such eerie calmness, terrifyingly abnormal calmness. Just that morning, she'd lost her only brother, and 4 years ago, she'd lost her mother too, both taken by the same cruel disease. How could she be so calm? No, this isn't calmness. This is pain so deep it's beyond expression, leaving only this state. How I longed to hold her properly, but I'd lost that privilege forever. That night, she locked herself in the bedroom. No matter how I called, she wouldn't open the door. I'm worried about her condition, afraid she might do something drastic. I opened the drawer to look for the keys to unlock the door, but the hospital diagnosis report inside instantly petrified me. She was found to have the same cancer cells. I couldn't bear it and told Grandma the news. Grandma wasn't surprised when she heard, just heartbroken. You should have guessed this illness can be inherited. So, Grandma had already guessed. That night, I didn't have the courage to open the bedroom door again. I sat on the balcony, my hands trembling as I smoked one cigarette after another. My body shook uncontrollably. I used to think everything was within my control, but now, I can't even make amends to the person I most want to make things right with. In recent years, her loved ones fell seriously ill one after another, departing in quick succession. Yet I, her husband, had been keeping another woman outside all this time. What she endured had long exceeded her limits. Yet even at her limit, she could only continue to bear it all. I could imagine how deeply she hated me. It was bottomless. 6 years later, Grandma passed away. I couldn't hold on any longer. On the balcony, I poured a bottle of sleeping pills into my palm. After swallowing them, I lay down in the recliner. 10 years. Chloe must have been reincarnated by now. She won't meet me again. When I closed my eyes, I saw a boundless radiance. It was as if I had returned to my university days. Back to that time at the English corner with Chloe. I put the book away. Are you looking at me? She denied it. I wasn't looking at you, just at the poster on the wall. I walked toward her with a smile, not admitting it. Fine then, I'll admit it. I like you, Chloe. Her fair face flushed instantly. What did you say? I'm saying, I like a girl named Chloe, and I want to ask her to be my girlfriend. Standing before the floor-to-ceiling window in the bedroom, I did the math. This was the 66th floor. If I jumped, I'd surely be shattered beyond recognition. Which would hurt more, chemotherapy or the fall? Not joking at all. I've had my eye on you for a while. But during this time, I noticed someone also stole glances at me several times. Unless I'm mistaken, we might be mutually attracted. So, how about giving me the honor and giving it a try? With a mix of shyness and playful pride, she replied, well, since you're the one asking me to be your girlfriend, you better not let me down for the rest of your life. I vowed, I won't let you down. Then, the scene flashed. After vanishing, it reappeared again. Under the English corner, we were still there. She still wore her hair in a high ponytail, full of youthful energy. But this time, when I turned my head, she wasn't looking at me anymore. She glanced at the poster on the wall, then turned and walked away. I urgently called out to her, Chloe. She didn't even turn her head as she strode away. I suddenly felt frantic and tried to chase after her, but my feet felt as if they were weighed down with lead, impossible to move. Chloe. I murmured her name. My consciousness grew increasingly hazy. The end.